Appropriations have a major role to play, especially in modern society. The link between appropriations and their intertext is frequently more sophisticated, detailed, and ingrained than a simple movie adaptation of a classic or well-known book may apply. Such is the case that is inherently visible in the creation of Pride and Prejudice, a 21st century appropriation of the original text Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen in 1813. The arrival of Mr. Bingley, who is in the country looking for a bride, serves as the book's formal opening. When Miss Bennet hears that one of her daughters could be married to a wealthy man, she is ecstatic. Mr. Bingley hosts a party at his estate where Jane and Mr. Bingley hit it up right away. Elizabeth and Darcy don't initially get along though. The tradition of impressions are flipped in the play despite the fact that Austen is able to capture the curiosity of both characters of the play. Elizabeth's pride and regard for herself are shocked by Darcy's snobbishness. The introduction of Indian characters and plotline catered in their culture while sharing the same values as the other original text, the showing of progression of society from the domination and supremacy of one race to a more appropriate belief in equality. Elizabeth, the main character of Pride and Prejudice, is a very distinctive character. Elizabeth cherishes her uniqueness. She is aware of who she is and what she wants in a relationship. When Mr. Darcy declines her invitation to dance, she taunts him and finds it hilarious. Elizabeth's self-awareness, however, more constrained than it first seemed. She is unaware of the elements influencing her own viewpoints. Elizabeth's uniqueness and a rather self-loving attitude are also to blame for her difficulty in comprehending the viewpoints of others, such as Mr. Darcy and Charlotte. The lady who played Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice was perhaps the only woman character to defy gender roles in her movie, and forms a love connection that is not dependent on her changing. As Anna Perlin writes in her article Pride and Prejudice, A Feminist Perspective, China places her Austen's heroine into a global setting where women have problems to solve just as much as in their nation, city, and family. This further solidifies the argument that women's rights have become a major issue in the 21st century and are highlighted through each appropriation. Cultural appropriation is one topic that plays a major role throughout the movie. This is because Pride and Prejudice is built around the themes of such intensity. The use of an Indian subplot within the film Appropriate a Jane Austen original highlights the modern approach to race and culture. The narrative is set in India, in Pride and Prejudice, where we meet the Bakshi sisters. The interracial romance between Lalita, the second eldest daughter of the Bakshi family, and the American Mark Darcy serves as a vehicle for the film to explore the issues of race, tradition, and cultural imperialism. At a friend's wedding, Balraj and Will Darcy are introduced to Jaya and Lilita. Lilita thinks Darcy is conceited and haughty, and quick to make friends with Johnny Wickham. Mr. Coley, an accountant who is Bakshi's American cousin, also makes a proposal to Lilita, however, ends up marrying Chandralama as he gets rejected. Lilita slowly starts to fall in love with Darcy. As Anna Perlin writes in her article Pride and Prejudice, A Feminist Perspective, up until the 1900s, only Hollywood and the BBC had been making films and TV shows based on Jane Austen novels. With Pride and Prejudice, however, Jane Austen has been placed in a very different film industry and a new cultural scene, but rather with similar morals and values. This only further solidifies the argument that Jane Austen's texts, which although have been appropriated into a new movie with a slightly different plot, have retained its original values and principles regarding female empowerment. As many similarities as the text may have in their morals and values, it is hard not to address the elephant in the room with such a huge appropriation. The Indian characters and a complete plot have been used within the movie. Will reveals to Lalita that his relatives have planned to develop a hotel nearby. He assumes that she will be thrilled because his business would create jobs in the neighborhood. Therefore, he anticipates her to be pleased. Lalita, on the other hand, is enraged and complains extensively about the tourist sector harming India's most rural regions. Will is informed by Lalita that she can only see how the major hotel chains are Indian culture in order to create an artificial Indian experience. This scene is highly symbolic of the Western view of India as an inferior and rather lost nation. As Elena Oliet Aldi states in her article, Gurinder Chadda's Pride and Prejudice, a transnational journey through time and space. Chadda's transnational movie Pride and Prejudice 2004 includes elements of Hollywood, Bollywood, and British cinematic traditions to create a hybrid transnational film that metaphorically represents the re-emergence of past prejudices in contemporary encounters of Eastern and Western cultures. This argument put forth is the very basis of difference between society and how both cultures clash with each other quite often throughout the movie and the practical world. It is to be made clear that cultural appropriations is a major part of Pride and Prejudice, and hence the storyline highlights the point of life from a different perspective. The fact that an originally Anglo-Saxon novel has in modern day been transformed into a text with biracial characters not only depicts how far society has moved from hating each other's race and culture to being a lot more open and friendly about it, but also shows how women's rights issues are now being taken more seriously and addressed with a lot more ease. Compared to the times when the original text would have been written, modern day adaptations are taken pride in, as they seem to highlight highlight the liberation of women from an object who was once forced and mistreated to a human that can now make their own decisions and be able to choose what they believe is right or wrong. Cultural appropriations, however, need to be safe and careful in the decisions they make, however, as they may be able to offend some people. As the famous saying goes, do not dip your pen in other people's blood. Thank you.